Something really fundamental is changing in how we build software with AI. For a long time, it's all been about massive, faraway data centers. But that's starting to shift. We're entering a new era where that intelligence isn't just in the cloud. It's right here, embedded in the tools we use every single day. So let me ask you something, especially if you're a developer. Have you ever been totally in the zone, deep in a complex problem, and your AI coding assistant just hangs? That little stutter, that lag, it completely pulls you out of it, right? Well, that feeling of friction is exactly what we're going to dig into. So, where does that friction come from? Well, it really boils down to a conflict between two totally different ways of doing things. You've got the cloud system we're all used to, which is defined by high latency, and then you have this new local system, which promises something that sounds almost impossible: zero latency. And trust me, that one difference changes literally everything.
Okay, let's really define the problem here. We have to stop thinking about latency as just some minor inconvenience. When you're doing something high speed, like coding, it's more like a tax. It's this hidden cost that just keeps adding up with every single thing you do with a remote AI.
So, how much is this tax really? Well, we can actually put a number on it. On average, you're looking at about 500 milliseconds for a round trip to a cloud AI, half a second. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but when you're in the rhythm of coding, it's a huge gap. And remember, that's the best case scenario, assuming the network is perfect and the servers aren't overloaded. So what's actually happening in that half second? It's kind of a wild journey. Your code has to get packaged up, shot across the internet, maybe wait in line at a data center, get processed on a GPU, and then make the whole trip back to you. Every single one of those steps adds a little more delay, a little more friction. And this is where it really hits home, the human cost. That half-second delay is a direct attack on what psychologists call cognitive flow. You know that state where you're just completely immersed in your work? Programming is all about that rapid-fire loop of thinking, typing, and getting feedback. When that feedback is slow, your brain has to switch gears. You start to forget things, and that beautiful state of deep work just shatters. So, what's the fix? It's not about making the cloud a little bit faster. It's a much more radical idea. What if we just get rid of the network completely? What if we move all that intelligence from some distributed system out there to an embedded system right here? And boom, this is the result. Your response times plummet from 500 milliseconds to under 100. But look at that second phrase, because it's actually even more important: deterministic performance. That means it's not just fast, it's predictably, reliably fast, every single time. No more guesswork. So here's the two systems, side by side. The cloud is built for many, many users, so it's distributed and high latency. But a local model? That's an embedded, low-latency system built for just one person: you. And here's the key takeaway for any coding workflow. Latency isn't just one little feature. It's the whole experience. It often matters way more than how big the model is. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but can my laptop actually do this? And the answer, maybe surprisingly, is yes. Because while we've been talking, there's been a quiet revolution happening in the hardware sitting on our desks. See, modern computers now come with special chips just for AI stuff. They're called neural processing units, or NPUs, things like Apple's Neural Engine or Snapdragon's Hexagon NPU. These, along with super fast memory, are built from the ground up to handle the kind of math these models need, which makes running them locally not just possible, but actually really, really efficient. But it's not just about the hardware, right? That's only one piece of the puzzle. The other piece is the AI models themselves. We're finally getting past this idea that bigger is always better. Think about it. Instead of using some massive generic model that was trained on the entire internet, what if you could use a smaller model that's fine-tuned just for your specific task? Imagine a model that's only ever seen your team's private code. It would just get the context so much better than a giant general-purpose model ever could. And we can make these small models even smaller and more efficient with a really clever process called quantization. This chart basically shows how we can shrink a model's file size a lot. It's kind of like taking a huge high-resolution photo and saving it as a JPEG. You make it way smaller, but you don't lose the important stuff. And that's what lets a really powerful model run instantly right on your laptop. So let's put it all together. You've got powerful local hardware, and you've got these small, super efficient models. What does that actually change for you when you're sitting there writing code? Well, it completely redefines your relationship with your tools. We get to move away from that old, clunky way of working. You You send a request, you wait, you switch your focus, you get the answer, you try to switch back, it's over. Instead, we're moving to a state of co-processing, where the AI is like a continuous, real-time partner that's perfectly in sync with what you're doing. And this is such a cool idea. The model stops being this external tool that you have to call on. It becomes something else, almost like an integrated cognitive layer inside your own environment. It's always on, always aware, and always thinking right alongside you. And if you thought instant speeds and staying in the flow were the only benefits, it actually gets even better. This shift to embedded intelligence has huge implications for your wallet and maybe most importantly, for your privacy. First, let's talk about cost. The whole economic model just flips on its head. You're not paying by the token anymore with some unpredictable bill at the end of the month. It's just a one-time hardware cost. And as for security, well, the advantage is absolute. Your private code, your company's IP, it never gets sent to a third-party server. It never, ever leaves your device. And really, that brings us back to the single most important idea in this whole shift. The best, the fastest, and the most secure intelligence isn't somewhere out there anymore. It's right here. It's embedded. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. For years, we've had to slow ourselves down to match the speed of our tools. We've had to adapt their latency. As that latency vanishes, the really exciting question becomes, what are you going to build when your tools can finally keep up with you?